Be wise and rise. The smarter you become, the less you feel the need to speak. With growth comes the realization that real power isn't found in how loud you are, but in how well you listen. One truth can change your life more than 1,000 pieces of advice ever could. Growth begins in silence. Many people believe that constant talking makes them appear confident. But real confidence? It's quiet. It's grounded. It doesn't rush to be seen or heard. It doesn't crave the spotlight. In fact, true strength builds when you stop needing to speak and start choosing when to. This audiobook isn't about staying silent forever, it's about learning how to be intentional with your words, your energy, and your presence. You'll learn how to lead without raising your voice, how to grow without needing recognition, and how to connect more deeply without speaking more. If you've ever felt misunderstood, drained, or ignored, this is your turning point. Because real power begins the moment you stop talking and start paying attention. Hold your thoughts, give your presence. Most people talk not because they have something valuable to say, but because they feel the need to fill silence, to be acknowledged, validated, or seen. But here's the truth: talking doesn't prove you're smart. Listening does. Wisdom starts when you stop trying to impress and start trying to understand. When someone is speaking, they're not just sharing information. They're revealing themselves, their thoughts, emotions, fears, values. But if you're only half listening, already planning your reply, you miss all of that. You miss their truth, the nuance, the connection. You miss a chance to grow. Holding your thoughts doesn't mean you're weak or have nothing to say. It means you're strong enough to wait. It shows self-control. It demonstrates respect. While others rush to respond, you choose to understand. That's rare, and it's powerful. When someone feels truly heard, they open up. They feel respected. And when they feel safe, they show you who they really are. Think about the last time someone gave you their full attention, no distractions, no rushing to speak. You felt seen. You felt valued. That's the kind of presence you can offer to others. Remember, people don't always need solutions. Sometimes they just need to be heard. They need someone who listens not to fix them, but to understand them. Say less to see more. Most people miss what matters because they're too busy filling the air with words. They rush to speak, afraid of silence, afraid of missing their moment. But the truth is, you see the most when you're quiet. You catch what others overlook: the pause in someone's voice, the glance that doesn't match their words, the hesitation that speaks louder than anything said. When you say less, you notice more. You start to hear not just what's being said, but what's left unsaid. You tune into tone, body language, timing, all the things most people miss when they're too focused on talking. Speaking less doesn't mean you stay silent forever. It means you speak with intention. You choose your words with care. You give yourself time to think, to reflect, to understand. You stop reacting and start responding. That's emotional intelligence. That's maturity. Let go of the need to prove yourself with every sentence. You don't need to comment on everything. You don't need to control every conversation. Sometimes, the wisest thing you can do is watch, observe, and hold your peace. Silence is not empty, it's full of insight, depth, and presence. Let people finish. How often do you interrupt someone before they're done speaking? Maybe you don't even notice you're doing it. Maybe you think you already know what they're going to say. But cutting someone off shuts the door on connection. It tells them their voice doesn't matter as much as yours. And that can damage trust. Let people finish their thoughts. Give them space to express fully, even if you disagree. Even if you're eager to jump in. Listening without interruption communicates maturity, respect, and emotional control. When you wait, you build trust. You create space for deeper communication. And you'll find that people respond to you differently. They open up. They feel valued. And when you finally do speak, your words carry more weight. Why? Because they're not rushed. They're not reactive. They're rooted in understanding. Final thoughts: the power of quiet influence. Influence isn't about how many words you speak. It's about how wisely you use them. In a world that rewards being loud, real power comes from being present. From paying attention. From understanding what others miss. This shift, speaking less, listening more, will change your relationships, your leadership, and your peace of mind. You'll find that you don't need to dominate conversations to be respected. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to explain yourself constantly to prove your worth. Instead, you'll discover a new kind of strength: quiet, steady, intentional. Speak less, not because you have nothing to say, but because you're wise enough to wait. Speak less, understand more, a new path to real connection. Real confidence doesn't announce itself. It listens. The smarter you become, the more you begin to realize that real power isn't in how loud you speak, but in how deeply you understand. This truth has quietly changed more lives than all the noise in the world ever could. Most people think that speaking more makes them seem confident, intelligent, or important. But true strength, lasting, quiet strength, is built in silence. It's not about staying quiet all the time. It's about being wise with your energy, your words, and your presence. In this audiobook, you're going to learn how to control your reactions, how to listen with depth, how to notice the things most people miss, and how to lead without ever needing to raise your voice. You'll discover the kind of power that doesn't shout, it waits. It watches. It chooses the right moment. And because of that, it lands deeper. Let's begin with something simple but powerful: let people finish their thoughts. You might not realize how often people get interrupted, cut off mid-thought, corrected before they're finished, spoken over. These interruptions don't just disrupt a sentence. They shut doors. They make people feel like their thoughts don't matter. And when people feel that way, they close off. They stop sharing the parts of themselves that truly matter. If you want to build trust, if you want to become someone people open up to, someone they feel safe around, start here. Don't speak until they're done. Even if you're sure you know what they're going to say. Even if the perfect response is already sitting on the tip of your tongue. Pause. Wait. Let them finish. It might feel slow at first. You might feel like you're wasting time or falling behind in the conversation. But you're not. You're gaining clarity. You're earning trust. You're gathering the full picture, not just the pieces. Because often, the most important part of what someone says comes at the end, and if you cut them off early, you miss it. You respond to half a sentence. And that's where confusion grows. That's how misunderstandings happen. When you allow others to finish their thoughts, you give them a rare and valuable gift: space. Space to feel safe. Space to be honest. Space to think out loud. And that space becomes the soil where deeper relationships grow. And something else happens in that pause. You begin to notice more. You start hearing what's under the words, the tension in someone's voice, the hesitation in their tone, the way their energy shifts when they talk about certain things. You see the message behind the message. You become present in a way that most people never are. And people feel that. They remember it. Even in disagreement, you can wait. You can listen. You can stay calm. You don't need to interrupt to win. In fact, you win more by waiting. You gain influence not by dominating the conversation, but by showing you're grounded enough to listen through it. People remember how they felt around you more than what you said. And if they felt seen, respected, and understood, that sticks. It doesn't just change how others see you. It changes how you feel about yourself. You stop reacting all the time. You stop chasing the perfect reply. You start feeling more grounded, more aware. You stop living in constant reaction and start choosing your responses with thought and intention. And people notice. Your conversations will begin to shift. People will sense that you're different, that you're not rushing, that you're not interrupting, that you're not trying to impress. They'll start opening up to you in ways they don't with others. Why? Because you give them space. And space is powerful. You'll be seen as wise, not because you always know what to say, but because you know when not to say anything. That's real presence. That's leadership without pressure. That's influence without noise. So here's your practice: when someone talks, don't jump in. Don't finish their sentence. Don't correct. Don't rush. Stay quiet. Let them finish. Breathe. Think. Then respond with clarity, not speed. This one shift, this one habit, can transform every part of your life, your conversations, your leadership, your friendships, your self-respect. It's not about speaking more. It's about speaking better. Speaking when it matters. Speaking with care. In a world where everyone's trying to be heard, be the one who listens. In a world full of noise, be the person who waits. The one who watches. The one who sees what others miss. That's where connection is born. That's where wisdom grows. When emotions try to speak for you. There are moments in life, tense, heated, overwhelming, when something rises inside you like a wave: anger, frustration, embarrassment, even fear. And right behind that feeling, your mouth wants to take control. It wants to lash out, explain, defend, or hurt back. But this is the exact moment where your real strength is tested, not in what you say, but in whether you choose to say anything at all. Because when emotion runs the conversation, regret usually follows. You've been there. We all have. Maybe you said something in a flash of irritation that you didn't mean. Maybe it was a tone, a sharp word, a jab. And later you sat with the weight of it, the damage done, the trust bruised, the self-respect chipped away. All because your emotions got to the mic before your wisdom did. That's why emotional discipline is one of the most powerful skills a person can learn. It's not about being silent forever or pretending you don't feel things. It's about knowing when to pause, especially when the heat rises. Because that pause, that breath, that deliberate moment of stillness, it's where your power lives. Words can be fast, but consequences are slow. People often mistake silence for weakness. But holding your tongue when you're angry is one of the strongest things you can do. It's not about avoiding truth, it's about speaking truth at the right time, with the right energy, in the right way. Reacting feels good in the moment. Saying exactly what's on your mind when emotions are high can feel like power, but it's not. It's a loss of control. It's emotional impulsivity dressed up as honesty. And that kind of reaction usually leads you away from the person you want to be. True strength is the ability to step back. To feel a strong emotion and not become it. To let the emotion pass through you like a wave, and then speak from the shore, not from the middle of the storm. When you choose to wait, you're not suppressing your voice. You're sharpening it. You're trading speed for clarity, volume for meaning. And people notice that. They may not say it, but they feel it. They feel the difference between someone who speaks to win and someone who speaks to build. They feel safer around you, more open, more willing to trust. That's leadership. That's emotional maturity. Train yourself to pause. That's all it takes at first. One pause. One deep breath before you answer the text that irritated you. One moment of stillness before you reply to the email that disrespected you. 1 second to ask yourself, what happens next if I say this? That's the question that saves relationships. That's the question that keeps your dignity intact. Because emotional intelligence is not about denying your feelings, it's about understanding their impact. It's about noticing the signal without letting it become your entire response. The truth is, most people are living on the edge of reactivity. They go from feeling to speaking in a single heartbeat. And that shortcut shortchanges them. It weakens their influence. It damages their credibility. It leaves a wake of confusion, pain, and unnecessary tension. But when you choose to move differently, you grow differently. And you start to notice the shift. You speak less but with more weight. People listen differently. You walk away from conversations feeling lighter instead of heavier. And the best part? You start respecting yourself more. Because you didn't let a temporary feeling create a permanent mess. There will be moments, plenty of them, where your mouth will beg to be heard. Where your ego wants to prove a point. Where your pride wants to protect itself. But ask yourself, is this the moment to speak? Or is this the moment to wait? Choose patience. Choose awareness. Choose growth over ego. Sometimes the strongest response is no response. Sometimes walking away from an argument doesn't mean you lost, it means you understood what wasn't worth fighting for. Speak with purpose, not just presence. Silence isn't weakness, it's strength. It's a sign that you've learned the value of your voice and the weight of your words. Talking all the time drains you. It scatters your energy, entangles you in arguments that go nowhere, and fills your mind with chaos that doesn't belong to you. But when you become serious about growth, when you begin to value peace and purpose, something shifts. You stop speaking just to be heard. You begin asking yourself two powerful questions. Does this need to be said? Am I the one who should say it? If the answer is no, you stay quiet. And that quiet isn't empty, it's presence. It's power. It's a discipline that protects your focus, your peace, and your reputation. You don't owe the world a running commentary on every issue. Not every problem is yours to solve. Not every conversation is your assignment. Silence becomes a boundary, a way to conserve your strength and avoid unnecessary conflict. This doesn't mean you're avoiding responsibility. It means you've learned that restraint is a form of leadership. You're not jumping into every debate. You're not explaining yourself just to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. The strongest voices are the ones used with care. The more you grow, the more you realize that your voice isn't just sound, it's influence. So you pause. You observe. You wait for the right moment. Because maturity is knowing that just because you can say something doesn't mean you should. Pay attention when emotions rise. Most people listen until emotion enters the room, then they stop. The tone changes, voices rise, energy gets sharper, and instead of leaning in, people shut down or snap back. But emotional moments are exactly when you need to listen the most. Not physically lean in, but mentally stay engaged. Because when emotion enters the conversation, so does truth. It won't always come out clearly or calmly, but it's there, behind the frustration, beneath the tears, inside the raised voice. This is when the mask comes off. People stop performing. They stop filtering. They speak from pain, from fear, from something real. That rawness might be uncomfortable, but it's honest. And most people miss it. They get defensive too quickly. They take things personally. But often, emotional outbursts aren't about you, they're about what the other person has been carrying. And if you're too busy defending yourself, you'll miss the root of what they're trying to express. Being calm in these moments doesn't make you cold, it makes you safe. It makes you useful. It means you can hold space for someone who's hurting without needing to control or correct them. That's emotional intelligence. That's leadership. When someone is overwhelmed, what they need most is to be heard, not fixed. Let them speak. Let them release. Don't rush to respond. Let the moment settle. Your calm is not silence, it's service. Stop talking when your words don't help. There's a powerful shift that happens when you stop speaking out of habit and start speaking with intention. You stop performing and start connecting. You stop dominating conversations and start elevating them. Ask yourself, why am I saying this? If the answer is ego, insecurity, or the need to fill silence, don't say it. Your words should contribute, not compete. When you choose your words wisely, people listen differently. You become the person whose voice cuts through the noise, not because you talk the most, but because you speak with clarity. That kind of discipline creates trust. It builds respect. It makes you someone others turn to when the pressure rises. You don't need to be the loudest in the room. You just need to be intentional. Speak to bring light, not heat. Speak to heal, not to win. That's how you protect your energy. That's how you protect your integrity. Let silence become your strength. In a world that glorifies noise, stillness is a superpower. Most people run from silence because they're not ready to face themselves. But if you want to grow, truly grow, you have to stop running. Quiet moments aren't empty. They're full of truth. That's when your mind finally slows down enough to reveal what you've been avoiding: regret, guilt, doubt, direction. And in that space, you find clarity. You find strength. Some of the strongest people you'll ever meet are the ones who spend time alone, not because they're lonely, but because they've learned to listen. To themselves. To what really matters. To the voice beneath the noise. Discipline isn't built when others are watching. It's forged in the silence when no one's around. That's where you check your values. That's where you realign your purpose. That's where you get honest about what needs to change. So don't fear the quiet. Use it. Let it sharpen your thinking. Let it refocus your energy. Let it prepare you for the storms ahead. Because when you stop speaking without purpose, when you listen with intention, when you embrace the stillness, you stop reacting to life and start shaping it. That's how you grow.